Hello and welcome to another episode of Stand Up for Jehovah. Now, this is the second of the videos that I'm going to read a story that I wrote quite a few years ago. So bear with me, I won't be flirting with you. I'm from a small backward industrial town in the north of England. In the 1970s, when I was a kid, no one had a car. We used to meet up for field service on the street corner and have a kind of pep rally right there, and then standing in a circle and saying a prayer. I was praying no one from school would see me with this bunch of misfits. There was Uncle Malcolm. He was a painter and used to do that sucking through the teeth thing that all tradesmen do just before they tell you, it's going to cost you, love, the left weld sprocket's got a sheared half strump. Uncle Malcolm's wife, Auntie Jean, was as fat as they come and was a bit slow upstairs. We all prayed that we didn't get to work with Auntie Jean because she was so embarrassing on the doors. She wore a flowery nylon dresses that didn't quite cover her hulking body, and you could always see right up to her knickers at the Tuesday group because her legs were too fat to close properly. They bred budgies. I think there was a competition to see who could keep the householder talking at the door for the longest, which my dad was winning by a country mile. I used to edge my way round the side of the house, knock on the wall and place pretend magazines at the pretend door. After I'd placed about 20, my dad was still at it. Everyone else had gone home. At the meetings, as far as I could work out, there were only 3 answers you needed to know that seemed to be correct for any question ever asked in any talk or watchtower. Jehovah, Jesus, and Satan. The trick was working out which one fitted which question. I was getting pretty good at working out the difference. Goody questions, big J or little j, didn't matter which, those guys were totally indistinguishable. Baddie questions, Satan. I loved it when my dim-witted peers couldn't even distinguish a goody question from a baddie question. I mean, it was so easy. If the voice went up at the end, it was a goody question. If it went down, it was a baddie question. Best of all was after the meeting, when we all went into the back room and played for a game of British Bulldogs. Form 2 teams, each team has to hold hands real tight, sing, Red Rover, we call Sarah over. Then that person has to run as hard as they can and smash through your hands. We used to be able to get at least 2 rounds in before some old git would tell us off. Worst of all was Saturday morning field service, because every kid in the entire world was sat in their living room, in their dressing gowns, eating bacon sarnies, watching Swap Shop, or even better, Tiz was. While I was outside in some high-collared, low-hemmed Christian dress my mum had made for me, freezing my nuts off trying to place a magazine about the lesser-spotted porridge weevil. Missing Tiz was hurt. I still fancy Sally James in that leather waistcoat, and I'm a fucking woman. But not as much as missing Top of the Pops hurt on a Thursday night. No, we didn't have a video. We were dead poor up north. I still hate Thursdays, and I'm old enough to think Top of the Pops is crap. I used to get spanked a lot when I was a kid. Maybe that's why I like it so much now. Who knows? It was bloody fantastic, though, if someone else got dragged into the toilets before you did. Usually it was my friend Gillian and Louise. Not because they were naughty, no, but because their dad wanted to win the I'm the strictest elder in the congregation competition. He won, but only because he banned them from eating sweets as well. My dad kept his spanking average as high, but I was allowed to eat sweets, so we slipped into second place. In third place came Nigel's dad, who spanked him for being sick in the prayer and banned Nigel from going out on his own anywhere in his teens. Next came Simon and Chris's dad, who had a pretty low spanking average, and between you and me, I think that just showed how spiritually weak he was. Last came Sarah's dad. Sarah was way too pretty to spank, but her dad made up for it later in life by sacking one of his employees who had the nuts to ask Sarah out. When you get spanked, the best thing to do was to go out with as much publicity as possible. Stephen used to hold on to the chairs as he went. Nigel used to throw up. I used to cry and shout, "I'm sorry, Jehovah, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." But that usually earned me a super spank when we got to the toilets. Straight after the spank, Dad used to tell me to be quiet, and then he used to say, "If you don't stop crying, I'm going to leave you here on your own." Well, I thought that was pretty odd, because surely the point of spanking me was to make me cry. So why would you want me to stop crying? I couldn't figure it out. But I knew that being left in the toilets on my own was not a good option. They were demonised. Demons and persecution featured a lot in my childhood. They were always bashing on about one or the other on the platform. As a consequence, I had nightmares, bit my nails and wet the bed for years. But all the rich sisters had read somewhere that when you were being persecuted, usually by having bicycle spokes poked through your legs, having your fingernails pulled off with pliers, or perhaps being whipped with electric cable, that Jehovah didn't let you feel anything, so that was okay. And I really don't know what all that bedwetting was about. In fact, my dad was being really kind with all the spanking, because it was like kindergarten persecution school, toughening us up for when the Great Tribulation came. Happy days!